Hi, everyone, and welcome to our next show. I'm super excited about this show. I'm probably more excited about this show than I have been about any one of our other shows, just because of the nature of today's show. It is super fun. It is really just an awesome, cool mix. I hope that you guys can hear me okay. We did have some technical issues on sound a bit earlier. If you're having any trouble with your audio, please do let me know. You can feel free to just send messages in through the chat box. The chat box is being monitored right now, so we will make sure that we get to absolutely every comment or question through the show. So now, without further ado, I just want to get into the introduction of our guests. Really, the best part about the show that we've created is the fact that we are able to get some of the most remarkable people around the world to participate and share their insights and give us value. And today, beyond just sharing insights, we also have the fun and the joy of having a little bit of entertainment, a little bit of spontaneity just thrown in there. I myself, right this second, I don't know exactly what's going to happen on today's show. The reality is that we kept it deliberately unrehearsed because we wanted it to be a little bit more spontaneous. We wanted it to just unfold. So what you're going to witness today is really a genuine, legitimate conversation that's just going to unfold naturally. None of this is scripted. None of this is worked out to a T. So I'm personally very excited about this. I really want you guys to engage and participate. So feel free to keep your comments coming through in the chat box. Make sure that you locate the chat box. So today, it's a very serendipitous moment for me because I got to meet our first speaker in a very unusual kind of way. I was walking around in Canal Walk a couple of weeks ago when the lockdown, or the first phase of the lockdown, ended and we were allowed to go and buy books. And the first thing that I did is I started going into exclusive books just about every weekend. Saturday and Sunday you'd find me at exclusive books, and I would just be reading and reading and reading and reading. And as part of that, I discovered this gem. This is a book called The Human Edge, and it's by Greg Orme. Now, it's one thing to find a book that looks interesting, and then it's another to discover a book that pretty much embodies all of the thoughts and feelings and ideas that I myself have been accumulating and punting for the last few months. So I myself have had a very strong interest in this particular subject. So can you imagine my delight when I picked up this book off the bookshelf and I read the back of it, and it pretty much revealed or unveiled some of these things that I've been struggling to communicate or even formulate, for that matter. So I felt just overwhelmed with a sense of gratitude that we have this fantastic opportunity to find in another person all across the globe, or in another part, across from me, 10,000 kilometers away in London or in the UK, we have someone who is articulating with a great amount of finesse and a greater deal of research. He's articulating these golden nuggets that truly resonate with me. And I'm just going to give you one of the lines at the back of the book that caught my attention, and it says, "What's left for humans in a world of AI? Daily news headlines pose questions that used to belong in the pages of science fiction. Will a machine take my job? If we can't compete with artificial intelligence, what's left?" And it says that the human edge reveals it's the skills that make us most human that'll help us sidestep digital distraction and succeed. And I promise you, just at the mention of that line, I was sold. I knew that this book was not only going to be a book that I would treasure, but I would also have to now embark on forming a relationship with the author of this book. Because at that point, I knew that this was way too uncanny. I mean, if you guys know my posts, if you know some of the stuff we put out on our social pages, and we've been doing it for a long time now, it really aligns with this thinking. What is left for humans to do? And I've been very much carrying the message for myself that we are going to be called upon to do the work that's a lot more human. And to that degree, humans or computers are making us a lot more human. So I immediately got in touch with Greg, and he was kind enough to respond almost immediately. It's not often that you would get a profile who's written a very successful book. And by the way, not a minor point, this book happened to be named the UK's best business book of 2020. So to have the author of this book reach out almost immediately, he sent a very kind and generous and personal message of his own on LinkedIn. He published a social post that talked about our moment of meeting each other online, and then we followed that up by further connections, some more communication back and forth. We did a call, and eventually that's how we arrived to today. We arrived at the opportunity where Greg and I are going to have a chance to get to know each other better. And we're going to do it live on the show so that all of you guys can participate in the conversation and enjoy that moment of two people from two totally different parts of the world connect and share a common belief system that's embodied in a fantastic, fantastic text, which I definitely recommend for all of you guys out there. All right, so that's the story with Greg. And I know that I've given a very personal introduction here, but I try to do that quite deliberately. And I'm going to give Greg the opportunity to introduce himself and some of his own the behind-the-scenes story in just a second. Our next guest, very, very interesting combination of guests today. We have South Africa's best mentalist and arguably one of the world's top mentalists. He is an illusionist, he is a mentalist, he is a magician. I prefer to call Larry a mentalist. But more specifically, I prefer to call Larry my friend. He's a personal friend. He's a very dear friend. He has been for a while. So I have the benefit of having a long-standing friendship with Larry. So I have gotten to know him pretty well over the years. And to me, he's just one of the most capable and skillful individuals. I mean, he's incredibly successful. He's successful all across the planet. He's done time in Europe. He's done time in LA. And by time, I don't mean he spent time in prisons. I mean, he's actually just gone there and had a great time. He may have spent a bit of time in prison. I don't know. I've never checked this.
I'm so glad you clarified that.
And, to me, it's just a wonderful opportunity to just have my buddy on the show who happens to be a very world-class performer. So it's a big treat for us. And then we said, hey, if we've got the author of the best business book in the UK and we have a mentalist on the same show, why not have one read the other's mind? So today is just going to be a fantastic all sorts. It's just going to be a random array of events and antics that we're just going to get up to live on the show, just to have a bit of fun and to, let our hair down, so to speak. All right, so without further ado, I think we're ready to launch right into the show itself. I want to begin by welcoming both of our guests with their opening question. Let's start with you, Greg. Go ahead and tell us, just give us a little bit more behind that background.
Oh, sure, Karen, that was a really generous introduction. Thank you so much. I'll try and live up to that. I'd like to point out I too have not spent time in prison because I've got excellent lawyers. But I actually I live here in Stratford. I'm just outside Shakespeare's hometown. I'm a Brummie. You know what a Brummie is? It's someone who comes from Birmingham, from South Birmingham. I live in the UK. Basically, I was born around here. My dad was in light manufacturing. I had two sisters. I grew up here. Lucky enough to marry my wonderful wife, Sophie. We've got two sons, 16 and 17. They do actually have names too. Those are their ages. They're both in bed, and if they start getting up, I'll probably freeze because they'll start using the Wi-Fi. Over the years, I was initially a journalist, actually, with the BBC. I was a television journalist for the first 10 years of my career, and latterly I went into strategy consulting, and that sort of took me into leadership development. And now I'm a leadership writer. I work directly with boards and with CEOs and with global organizations, helping leaders and organizations respond to this crazy world of change that we were seeing even before COVID, and now has really even accelerated even further. So in a snapshot, that's me, Kirisha.
Thank you, Greg. Greg, we just had a little bit of a sound challenge while you were speaking. So it might be that you're going to have to just repeat that last bit. Let's see if we can just do a fix on Zoom itself and just go ahead and increase the sound output on Zoom.
My mic, maybe, if that might help. I don't know if I'm any clearer now.
So I just got the feedback that your answer wasn't heard at all. Are you guys able to, apologies for this technical issue, are you guys able to hear any of the sound at all from Greg, or is it just a complete silence, or is it just low? Like, just if someone could tell me what's actually going on there. Oh, so it is audible, but it's just too low to be heard. Okay, good. So on Zoom, have we maxed out our sound output? Because I know that there's nothing we can do on Ecamm. I think that's already maxed out. Let's just see if we can. And then, guys, again, apologies for this. Apologies for this technical issue. Can you hear my sound okay? Is it just Greg's sound that's too low? Okay, so Varushka says that my sound is good. All right, so thank you for that, Varush. Okay. All right, guys, so just bear with us. Apologies for this technical issue. On Zoom, have we changed something? Okay, fantastic. So, guys, just keep us honest here. Greg, would you mind just giving us the tail end again, if you wouldn't mind?
I assume everyone can hear me now. So I was just telling you a little bit about my background, Kerishan.
Yes.
I live here in Stratford-upon-Avon in the UK. And, oh, crikey. Well, I rabbited on for quite some time, but I'll give people the short version now, is that I actually started my working life as a journalist with the BBC, and then kind of found my way via being an entrepreneur into being a strategy consultant. And then from strategy consultancy, I've kind of graduated into leadership advisory roles and leadership coaching. And that has led me to write these two books. The latest book is The Human Edge, which you were just so kind about. And the one before that was called The Spark, How to Ignite and Lead Business Creativity, which kind of gives you an idea of what really fascinates me. And it's how can you bring creativity into people's lives and into people's businesses.
Fantastic. Thanks, Greg. Larry, slightly different background. I'm interested to hear how you position this to everyone. So give us a little bit of the background to Larry Soffer.
Well, I started out as a stripper.
Of course you did, Larry. Of course you did. What do you mean you started off as a stripper? As far as I know, you're still quite the stripper. Okay, so Larry, we seem to be taking turns at the sound problem. So now everyone's saying that they can't hear Larry. So I don't know what's going on necessarily.
Oh, I see. I'll keep talking. I'm very good at that. And then if you can just let me know if you hear me and if anything changes. And hopefully we get like some sort of feedback to let us know if they can hear us better now. Anything on your side, KG?
I mean, I can hear you loud and clear. And Virush says that it is getting better. And then Andrew says much better.
Okay, great. So basically, I'm a mentalist. I read minds, I predict the future, I bend metal, I do weird and wonderful things. You guys are actually going to get to experience some of that here today, and I think that's part of the excitement that's been built up around this show here today, is that even though Greg and KG are in two different areas, and I'm here in my home in Cape Town, I'm still going to read their minds and have them read mine and predict their thoughts across this call right now. I started out when I was about 4 or 5 years old. I got my first magic set from my grandparents, and I was always interested in the spiritual part of life and in the power of the mind. So that really ties into what Greg is talking about in the way of power of the mind and how we can be creative. That's really a superpower that we can use in today's age. And I don't think that being creative means that you have to be somebody super extraordinary. It just means that you have to create with the tools that you have to create the outcomes that you're wanting to create, and the outcomes which other people can actually have, which they can accept. Maybe some solution to a problem that they're having, you can kind of put forward to them and make that a solution for them so they can have that. That way you can do really well in business, even in today's age, because computers don't do that kind of a thinking, you know. Although we're getting pretty close to it with analytics. I've heard some funny stories in that regard. Yeah, so I started up when I was about 5 years old and got started with magic. I got my first magic set, went to the College of Magic at the age of 13, where I studied a lot of sleight of hand and illusion. And then after school, I got more into the mental or spiritual side of magic. And I don't say what I do is real. I don't say it's not real either. I'll leave it up to you guys to decide here today what you believe. And the reason for that is because I believe what you do with that belief is what really counts. So if you believe it's a trick, hopefully it's entertaining. But if you believe it's real, I believe that means you can create real magic in your life.
I tell you what, I believe I'm really nervous about this entire thing, Larry. Is that normal?
It is quite normal. I tend to have that effect on men and women.
Yeah. Well, I've got some worries. I'm worried that you will read my mind and find out what I'm actually thinking, which is not something I want to broadcast. And then I'm worried you'll find there's nothing there at all. So either way, it's not great for me. So I'm very nervous. I'm out of my comfort zone, Larry, already.
Well, I personally think that that's a good thing.
Yes, yes. So that's pretty much my journey, and yeah, I believe in inspiring people to create their dreams. I believe that anything is possible, even in today's age and these difficult times. I believe that if we can be creative enough, and if we can be interested enough in our environment, we can find the solutions to overcome the barriers that we're faced with.
Fantastic intro there, Larry. Really love the narrative. Now before we just completely dive into the core content of the show, just to go back into that background question, I'm interested to know, we have two very different guests who do very different work, but still with the intention of making people improve themselves and live better lives and almost be the best that they can be. So that seems to be a common thread. But the nature of how you guys go about the work that you do, or the way in which you attain this goal, seems to be quite different. I'm interested to know, just a quick insight from each of you. We'll start with Greg. If you could just tell me, what makes you do what you do today? What is it that has made you do the work every day that you arrive to work and do?
I think, this sounds semi-serious answer to that question is, I talk a bit in the book about your purpose, your why, why do you think that you can make a difference in this world? And I sort of came to the conclusion that one of the things that I like to do, and maybe that is my purpose, is to help other people reach their full potential. So, the book and the keynote speeches I give and the learning sessions I run with executives and some of the pro bono work I do is all around that, is helping people to really find the power of their own curiosity and their creativity. The actual reason why I'm here stems from a story about 4 years ago when I was actually giving a keynote speech in an alumni event at London Business School, where I do a lot of work. And a lady came up to me and said, "You've been talking a little bit about artificial intelligence. I'm really interested in that from an organizational perspective. But personally, I'm not sure what I need to do. What are the capabilities I need to survive in this world that's changing so quickly? And what do my two teenage daughters need?" And she asked me that question. I didn't really have a very good answer. And I was kind of umming and ahhing. And that's what led to the journey of research that resulted in the human edge and the human superpowers that I've talked about in that book.
Fantastic, fantastic. Very interesting, very insightful. Larry, what about you? What brought you to do this every single day of your life?
Well, when I was a young kid, my parents, they used to have disagreements, and there were certain things that I didn't really enjoy about that. And I also had friends who didn't particularly like other friends. So I would be invited to a party, or I would invite them to a party, and they would say to me, "Well, I'm not coming if so-and-so comes." So I didn't feel that was very fair, because I didn't have any disagreements with those particular people, and so I felt that they were all my friends. I wanted to invite them all. I hope that makes sense. And so the point that I'm getting to basically is that I wanted to inspire people through the art of magic to believe that anything is possible. And if we can all believe in our own abilities to create our goals, I believe there will be a lot less conflict in the world. Instead of having to defeat the next person or put the other person down, we can all achieve the success that we're wanting to achieve if we believe in our ability to create that success. And so I wanted to inspire people through the art of magic to be able to do that, because I believe that magic says that anything is possible. You can just disagree with the way that you see things to be, and you can think them to be a certain way and have them be that way.
Wow, that's very inspirational. Just that in itself is super inspirational. So before we get into the actual meat of this book, the text, I'm gonna just ask for some light entertainment at this point. So Larry, do you mind just assaulting Greg just a little bit? Because I made him look really good, because he is a good guy. I think we need to just bring him down to earth a little bit. What do you say?
We can definitely try something. So Greg, I want you to imagine right now, and I know this is a little bit scary for you, and just so everybody knows, we haven't prearranged anything. We're actually going to get into some mind reading right now, but you've never told me what you're about to think of, right?
No, that's correct, Larry.
And you haven't written it down anywhere and showed anybody or shown me or nothing like that, right?
No.
Okay, great. So, and you haven't told anybody the things that you might think of, that if Larry asks you to think of something, you're going to think of these particular things. You have nothing like that has happened, right?
No.
So everything that's about to happen is really legitimate, right?
Yep.
Perfect. So I want you to imagine right now in your mind that you're going on Google and you're doing a Google search for a celebrity or some person, right? And I want you to find an article in your mind. So you're searching through the different articles, you find a particular article, and you read down through that article, and I want you to look at some different words and just get an idea of different words in your mind. Very good. And keep changing your mind. Good. And change your mind again. Excellent. And change your mind again. And I want these to be really random words. Change your mind again, but just a thought. You got something in your mind?
Yeah, I'm there, Larry.
Okay, great. So now you've got some sort of celebrity, and you've got and I'm getting that you almost went for two different celebrities. In fact, you settled on one, but you wanted to go for another, right?
That's correct, yeah, I did, yeah.
And then you changed your mind through a few different words, but you have one particular word that you got your attention fixed on right now, right?
I do, yeah.
Great. I'm going to try and receive that from your mind, even though you're in the UK and I'm here in Cape Town. So I want you to put your hand toward the screen like this.
Okay.
That's good. Just a little bit toward the center. That's perfect, just like that. So I'm just going to form a connection with you right here, Greg. In your mind, I want you to repeat the first letter of your word over and over, like O. O. Yes, it's an O?
It is an O, yes.
Yes. Can you spell out your word letter by letter, just in your mind, never out loud? Start now. Stop, that was a C.
That's correct.
Yes. And actually, as you're going along, I'm going to try and pick up the different letters as you're looking at them. I know this feels a little bit odd, but we're going to try this. So keep spelling from the letter C now. Stop. Was that a Z or an S? I think it's an S. An S, yes?
No, I've got that one, Larry.
You went C, and then you went another letter, and then you looked at the letter S.
We're on the third letter, right? You're trying to think of the third letter?
The third letter I'm getting is a C. That was the letter
so
that
you're correct. It goes O-C-C, yes.
Yeah, don't say anything else. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
And then you went, and then you skipped another letter, or you spelled out another letter, and then you looked at the letter S.
There is a letter S, yeah.
Yes. And right now, in your mind, Greg, you skipped all the way to the end of the word. You looked at another letter S. You were thinking, this is crazy, because somehow Larry's in Cape Town, and he knows what I'm thinking.
This is a bit strange, and my arm aches. So two things are happening at once.
Okay, cool. So you can relax your arm right now. And I have formed a connection with you. I'm going to try and get the entire word. If you could just spell it out from beginning to end in your mind, live out loud. Start again now. I'm definitely getting something here, Greg. For the first time, Greg, I mean, you're thinking of millions, if not billion, one of millions or billions of words, right? I don't know what your vocabulary is, but definitely in the tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands, right? So, for the first, I mean, if I got your word, this would be crazy, right?
It would be. I would be really genuinely shocked.
So for the first time, Greg, tell everybody, what was your word?
My word was occasions.
Occasions?
That is really good, Larry. I'm going to hand it to you.
Wow.
Crazy.
Well, how did you beam into Stratford-upon-Avon do that? And that's...
Well, what's even crazier, and I know it's like, how is this even possible? Well, I believe that whatever you believe in, you can make happen. In fact, I believe in believing to see instead of seeing to believe, because most people say, I'll see it before I believe it, especially with what I do. But I believe that that way you only experience other people's creations. If you can believe to see, you can believe in your own ideas, you can then create those ideas and become the master of your own destiny. So we're going to take this a little bit further right now, Greg. In fact, you're thinking of a celebrity as well, right?
I am, yeah, and I'm a little bit nervous about this bit. For you.
I'm getting that you wanted to go for a singer, is that right? Did you want to go for a singer?
Not really. No, when I was going through it, I kind of like skipped around a little bit, and I went for.
Don't tell
this person may have sung, but actually not predominantly a singer, to be honest.
But it was a female, right?
Correct, yes.
And the surname, the last name, starts with an L, right?
Correct.
Is that Lopez? No,
it's not.
It was, but the first, I thought maybe it was that, and I wasn't quite getting the last name. But was that Jennifer that you wanted to go for?
Yes.
I think you changed your mind to. This is a sports star, right?
Yes. Yes.
In fact, I'm getting it. Not only is he a manager of a sports club, but also a football player.
Correct. Spot on.
There's no way that I could have known that you would have thought this at all, right?
I'm racking my brains to work out how you would have known this stuff, but I cannot think of it. I don't know. It's a mystery to me.
Well, thank you. So in your mind, just repeat that name over and over, like Kevin Keegan. Kevin Keegan.
Correct. Spot on. That is amazing. Larry, that is amazing. Well done.
Thank you. And I know this is not your thing, and
Wow.
I appreciate it, and I know you enjoyed this so much, but I just want to reveal one last thing before I hand back over to KG, if that's okay, because there was a thought that passed through your mind when you went through Jennifer and then Kevin Keegan. There was a thought of a friend of yours that you almost thought of, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Is this person pretty famous as well?
Not at all. No, it's just my mate.
No. Okay, cool. So it's just a good friend of yours, and then it definitely is a male friend of yours, and I'm getting that this guy is very kind and compassionate, but also at the same time a great thinker, very creative in his mindset.
Yeah, he's a lovely guy, and he's one of the brightest people I know.
Exactly, and what I'm getting is that you guys have great, like, philosophical conversations about where the world is going and how we as humans can actually lead it in that direction.
Yeah, he's definitely of that mindset, the guy I was thinking of, yeah.
So there's no way I could have known any of this information. It's not on Facebook or anything like that, right?
Well, I guess I'm connected to him in various ways digitally because he's my mate. But you know, I've got quite a few friends and colleagues, and so.
So this is pretty random, right?
It would be pretty random, and again a mystery if you could guess who I was thinking of, for certain.
So I'm going to try and do that right now. So there's no way that I could know his name, but I'm going to try and receive it from your mind right now. I want you to imagine him right over here. And just in your mind, I want you to say hello and then say his name. Just in your mind, never out loud, so you'd say hello. John?
Yes.
John Hill?
Yes. Yes. Yes, it is. That's correct. You got it spot on. That's one of my best mates. I go cycling with him. I don't know if he's watching or not, but that's pretty amazing. That's pretty amazing.
Well, thank you very much, Greg.
That was so good. That was so good. You know, I was so concerned that you weren't going to, I didn't want to be part of something that was a bit awkward. But wow, that was amazing. That was amazing.
Wow,
Thank you
wow,
so much.
wow. I mean, while I restore my jaw back to its usual position, I just wanna like say to Larry, no matter how much I see you perform, no matter how many times I see you do these things, it just blows my mind each and every single time. Just absolutely incredible. Now, you folks out there, you tell me that that isn't magic. You just tell me that that isn't magic right there. Pravesh made a comment in the comment box. He says, thank God his wife is not a mentalist. Well, I will say nothing further. All right. So,
thank you.
so folks, I want to use this as a great segue into a little bit more of the discussion now from the book, and then of course we're going to jump back to another performance. So it's going to be just a wonderful mix over the next 30 minutes, just under 30 minutes. We're just going to have a bit of fun, so we're going to move with some speed because we don't have that much time. So Greg, obviously one of the hallmarks of this book would be the framework that you've created with the 4 C's. All right, so we have 4 C's here: consciousness, curiosity, creativity, and collaboration. I'm going to ask Larry in a second to expound on one of those aspects, but just as a starting point, help me understand just obviously I've gotten a lot more context because I've read the book, but what about for those who haven't, for those just waiting for a bit of a teaser about the book, what made you select those 4 C's? Just give us a little bit of context on that.
Oh, sure, absolutely. Well, the whole point of the book is that we're facing a very big radical change in our world, in the fact that machines are getting smarter. And of course, we've always had machines in the workplace. They replaced our arms and legs during the first industrial revolution, not far up the road from where I am here in the late 1700s, early 1800s. I would argue now, in what's been called the fourth industrial revolution, they've come for the white collar jobs, right? They've come for us. They've come for these cognitive skills, and they're in the process. And what I mean by machines combined with data, combined with machine learning, are replacing the more complex cognitive tasks in our workplaces. So we need to be aware of that. Think of it like we're on the mountaintop of human skills, and in the valleys have been flooded and are being flooded for many years, and it's taking over things like basic computation, analyzing things, seeing patterns in data. Machines can already do that way better than we can. So I was asking myself, using research from various different bodies as well as psychology, what is left for humans in this incredible world? And what you come up with is machines, AI as it is very good at narrow tasks that you can write down every single part of the data that creates that task. And we humans are kind of magicians, if you like. Larry will like this. We're magicians at integrating knowledge, at coming up with intuitive decisions, at not going in the straight line. And the things that we talk about, consciousness, curiosity, answering the next question rather than the last question, creativity, which is always the integration of 2 separate ideas into a bigger idea. There's a kind of a link, and it's quite messy. And of course, collaborating with fellow human beings, which requires emotional skills like passion and empathy. These are on the mountaintops. And the machines we're facing right now and are likely to face in the coming years, they're just not very good at it. And we are naturally good at it. So that's where we should do. The big message for me, Karishan, is don't compete in a war you're going to lose. Differentiate. Differentiate and do the things that you're naturally better at.
That is phenomenal. Love it, love it, love it. So Larry, let's bring you into the conversation and let this next answer of yours lead into your next bit where you can entertain us some more. Just let's take the concept of creativity and go back to what you just said about, conceiving something in the realm of the mind, or in the realm of more the less of the physical universe and more of the other stuff. So that's where the ideas usually emerge from. So starting from that point, talk to us a little bit about creativity and link it back to your comment about bringing stuff to life that emerges from the mental space. Talk to us about that.
That's a very interesting question. I have to kind of formulate an answer on that. But first of all, I totally agree with Greg, is that creativity is the combination of 2 different ideas or 2 different entities that exist and forming it into something new. I agree with that completely. I also feel that creativity is not necessarily something new that has to be done like a totally original idea. Like it's the combination of two ideas, like Greg was saying, but also it's sometimes just doing something different, or sometimes bringing back the old with a little bit of new, you know, or making the old cool again, you know, and that's also being creative. So it's taking resources that you already have and using those resources to package it in a way that somebody else finds interesting. If you can do that, you can be successful. And also, not just that they find interesting, but they find valuable, and they also find something that it solves some sort of a problem for them. So there's many issues in today's life, many things that we have to do, and because of that, there's many problems that need to be solved. So we need to go to the shop, so we need a car. You know, we need to eat, and so we have to get food, and we need to eat faster. So now there's frozen meals that you can make in a short space of time, and they're so delicious. And it depends where you get them from. But even Checkers sells great frozen meals today, you know. But it's just these problems can be solved for people, and then that becomes of value to somebody else.
And I love that when you're talking about creativity there kind of democratically, Larry, like it's accessible to all people, because one of the things that we find is that when I ask people, are you creative or are you highly creative, I ask people, the vast majority of adults say no. Even when they know creativity is important in business and it comes up with innovations and new ideas like the frozen meals you were just talking about. And I'm on a personal mission to help people reconnect with their own personal creativity. Because when you look at the studies of creativity, sadly, it is stolen from us by our environments. Normally school and then the workplace, we find our creative thinking and our curiosity is not as welcome as you might think. But that's a learnt behavior. And you can unlearn it and start the habit of creativity and the habit of creative thinking, which I think is a really kind of inspirational idea for people.
Exactly, I agree with you completely. And there's certain things that life throws at us. Like now, we're in a situation where the whole world is on some sort of a lockdown. I know that the lockdown has been alleviated for a lot of people right now. But that kind of thing throws a situation, a barrier with us, in order for us to resolve that barrier. If we can find a solution to that barrier, like right now, being a magician or a mentalist, doing something across this medium would previously been thought to have been impossible. But if you can actually see how can it actually happen, how can you solve it, you can create something that almost looks new, but it's something that's very old, just packaged differently. And it seems like the guy's a creative genius. I'm not saying that I'm a creative genius because I stand on the shoulders of giants. And what I mean by that is all the knowledge that exists, that we ever need to have, exists right now. We can look into the resources. If we're failing in some aspect of life, it just means that we don't have the knowledge about that thing to be able to create success. And we either don't have the knowledge or we're not applying it. That's the two very simple basic solutions that we can do. Is we can find the knowledge, we can apply it, and we can create success in anything. So on that note, I'm going to actually show you something right now, because I do believe that we're in a new normal, and I believe that it's time to create new opportunities, and like you say, Greg, to be curious enough, to be interested enough to find the solutions within the barriers, or to create solutions out of the barriers themselves. And
Greg, is that a nervous chuckle? Was that a nervous chuckle?
I've got a feeling I'm now going to be the focus of, but I'm just hoping you're not going to ask me to do any mental maths online. This could be embarrassing, but I'll do my best, Larry, to be your whatever you call someone like me. Stooge? No, not Stooge. Idiot.
And just so everybody at home knows, these are effects that I've created for my online show that I do at a lot of corporate events, private parties, and I've even had some public events during this time. So really, Greg is just as somebody who's been initiated into this. He has no idea what's about to happen. And even in the effect that you saw before, it all happens in different audiences, different situations. So like I say, I believe it's time to create new opportunities and kind of like a new normal here. So Greg, I know that before you would have thought that this is not possible, but I'm getting the idea that you think now to some degree it's maybe somewhat possible, right?
Well, I guess I'm still, part of my brain is still working out how you did it. I'm withholding judgment. I don't know what's going to happen next, but the last thing I was pretty darn impressed with, Larry. So let's see where we go from here.
Well, thanks, Greg. Well, let's see. I believe that we all have these abilities. And back in the 1950s, to try and demonstrate that we had these abilities, they created these ESP cards. And they're called ESP cards. It stands for extrasensory perception. That's the reason why they're called ESP cards. And one person would stand in one room, another in another, and they would try to read each other's minds. So this could symbolize the ocean for you, the wavy lines. This could maybe be like a plus sign on a calculator or an aeroplane. Maybe this could symbolize the circle of life. Maybe twinkle a little star, thinking outside of the box. They could symbolize different things for different people. Greg, if you had to choose a sixth symbol, something totally different to these five, what would you choose? What would you create? It could be an object that exists, a simple object, or it could be another kind of symbol.
Do you want me to tell you?
Yes.
A triangle, maybe. Maybe a triangle. Yeah.
A triangle?
Yeah, yeah.
Perfect. And Karushan, if you had to think of triangle, or even any of the ideas that I've just kind of given across, what word would you come up with that would associate with those ideas, or with the symbol triangle? Totally up to you.
So you just want a word for that?
Yes. In fact, just think of the word right now. Do you have a word in mind?
Yes, I have a word in mind.
Okay, so it's an associated word to these ideas or to the symbol triangle.
Yeah.
I want you to now change your mind to another associated word.
Okay.
Good. Change your mind one last time. And
Okay.
let me know when you have something.
Okay, I have something.
Great. Now, the reason why I got you to change your mind a few times is because right now you have a word in mind that you didn't even know that you were going to think of, right?
Exactly.
Okay, great. So it's totally random. And what is that word?
Okay, let's just say it out loud, huh?
Yes.
Pyramid.
Pyramid. Amazing. Yeah. Great. So I have an envelope over here. We're going to get back to that in a moment. And I also have some duplicate cards right over here, Greg. These duplicate cards are exactly the card that you see on the table. I'm just going to mix them up, and I'm going to pick out one. And I want you to tell me, where should I put this one? The object is to match it.
Yeah. It's to match it, so try and match it. Put it on the star.
On the star, right over here. Do you want to change your mind?
No, I'm fine.
You happy with the mind you have?
Yeah, well, sort of.
Okay, great. So, Greg, do you want to have a look to see if you got this right?
Sure, yeah, why not?
This is so crazy. I'm so glad you said yes. No, we'll try it again, but this time I'm going to mix up the cards a little bit more.
It's good at this.
Yeah. So you're actually doing this right now, Greg. I believe, like I say, we all have these abilities. So where would you say that I put this card? I'm not even going to look at it.
The first thing that pops in my head was the circle.
The circle right over here. Perfect. And this one?
The cross, the plus sign.
The plus sign.
Yeah.
And the last two, Greg, do you want it like this, or do you want me to swap?
I want you to swap. Just like
you want me to swap. So you want this one to go over here,
yeah, that's
and this one over here.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
KG, do you want to change your mind in any way, or are you happy with the choices that Greg made?
I support Greg completely. I'm a big fan.
Okay. So
solidarity, KG.
Do you want to stay or do you want to change, Greg? Do you want to change any of these?
I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm feeling comfortable.
Well, you wanted to swap this one, and you were absolutely right.
Wow.
That is crazy.
No.
And the last two, you were 100%. So crazy.
Stop this.
I don't know how you're doing that, Larry. I think maybe it's rubbed off on me. Maybe I'm just become a mentalist.
Totally. And you know what?
It's so easy.
Yeah, you did this, Greg. You did this. And you did such a fabulous job at it. And remember at the beginning I told you about this envelope over here. I want to show you what's inside. I'm going to be very fair about this. You can see it's nice and close, right?
Yeah.
Before we got started today, I wrote something down on a piece of paper. You can see that inside there?
I can see the paper, yes.
And it's a picture of a triangle. You chose triangle, Greg.
I just don't get it. That is really amazing. It was the thing that popped into my head. In fact, it was the second thing that popped into my head, but it was the thing I chose. And you guessed it. Amazing stuff. Larry, well done.
Thank you. And what's even crazier is when you said triangle, KG changed his mind a few times and eventually landed up on a word. What was that word?
Pyramid.
Pyramid. Well, I don't always get this right. But today I did.
No, stop this. This I don't believe. It's not even possible. How did you get that? I mean, I literally changed my mind 3 times. I'm done. I'm leaving.
Thank you very much, guys. Thank you.
I can't. I mean, Greg, I don't know how you're coping there, but I just can't deal.
I am really shocked. I was worried, thinking I know there's going to be some monkeying with the mind going on, and I don't know how it's going to turn out. But you've been phenomenally accurate. It's quite incredible.
This is just at another level, at a whole other level.
Thanks so much, guys.
Oh my goodness! I swear, guys, to the people who are listening to the show, who are watching the show, you are not. You're probably not experiencing it to the full extent that I am, because I literally had that word in my mind. How was it written on a page? How? It makes no sense. This completely violates the laws of this world that we live in. Okay, I'm quite upset about this. I'm moving on.
Anything is possible. Absolutely anything is possible.
Just freaks me out. So see, here's what I'm going to do. Just to maintain my sanity, I'm going to pretend like that just didn't happen. And I'm just going to read a few lines here from Greg's book, something that I personally loved, this framework. Now, Greg, how do you pronounce this Japanese concept thing? What's the...
I guess you're on the page that's doing Ikigai.
Ikigai. Okay, good. So I was guessing Ikigai. I just didn't want to say it out loud. So I'm just going to read a little bit, and then I'm just going to go into 1 or 2 questions for our guests. So this is probably going to be taking time into account, and we definitely want to see another effect or 2 from Larry. So I'm gonna keep this one brief. So it says, sadly, millions on our planet have a very narrow latitude for making choices in their life. They have to endure a brutally difficult existence. They're glad of even the most demeaning work because it means they can afford food and shelter. Having said that, if you're reading this book, I'm assuming you have at least some options for change. If so, finding meaning in your work and elsewhere is essentially about 2 things. Number 1, realizing you have choices. Number 2, making the right choices for you. So I loved this bit, and I loved this Ikigai framework. I mean, I showed it to my wife as soon as I got the book, and I said to her, I drew a diagram many years ago in one of my notebooks, and I still have the notebook that captured 4 of these key elements about, a Venn diagram that intersects what you love with what you're good at, with what you can be paid for, and what the world needs. It's so scary, the fact that this diagram matches some of the thinking that I had a good few years ago, and I just fell in love with the section and how you expanded on it. So on that note, Greg, what I'd love for you to do is just give us a little bit of your author insight. Tell us a little bit about this element of choice and how we have to focus on the fact that we in fact do have a choice, despite the fact that circumstances might appear pressurizing. Within that may be contained, if not a large latitude, some latitude for choice. Just talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because the book isn't actually a leadership book. I've written it particularly so anybody can benefit from it. You don't need to be in a managerial or leadership position, even though I kind of do that for a living. But I think of that in terms of your space. Everybody's got a space to respond to what the world is doing around them. So, we all have good things, quote unquote, bad things, quote unquote, that happen to us every day, all of our lives. And I think of our space of freedom, if you like, our space of creativity is our choice to how we respond to that. And you can see that in many examples of people's lives. And so if you can really, the trick is to know that space is there. And sometimes that space could last a couple of days, in weeks or months, while you're considering how you respond to what's happened to you. And sometimes it's in an instant, if someone said something. Just taking that space of leadership, that space of creativity, is thinking, how can I respond to this, rather than doing things automatically. That's how I think of that. And that connects to that whole chapter there is about your why, about your purpose in life. And the reason I put that in the book is two reasons. One, if you want to be creative in life, you have to risk failure. Because all creativity, although Larry's been phenomenally successful today, I'm sure he's practiced those things he did, whatever they were, and sometimes they may not have worked. So you have to acknowledge that and actually take that as part of the creative process. And two, having a purpose, your why, however you want to articulate it, helps you make the key decisions in your life, because you can compare what's going on and thinking, is this really on track for me? Is this what I really, really want? So it's an incredibly powerful insight for yourself. It's an ongoing thing. You never really have the final answer. But why am I here? Not just what do I do, but how do I do it, but why do I do what I do beyond a paycheck? It's an incredible thinking process.
Fantastic, and I love that. And I could just go on for hours just having that chat about the purpose and about the overlap of the different areas of our lives. And I just love it, and I love the reminder to everyone that look forward into your life. Look at your work life, look at your home life, and see within the context of your life where you have room for choice. Yes, it might be pressurizing, as Greg mentions in his book, and there might be situations there where we feel that we don't have a ton of choice, but seek within that context the slight bit of choice that you do have, and make the right choices for you, as he says so in his book. And then you'll find that you may have another area in your life where you expand even further, and you realize you have quite a little bit, you have even more choice, and then start making those choices in the area where you have even more latitude, and so it grows. So to earn the stage or the lifestyle where you can in fact make these choices in a very powerful way and in a very sweeping way, you just got to start bit by bit, gradient by gradient, and eventually you'll get there. So that's just a little bit of a tidbit from me, some of the realizations I've had while looking at all of this wonderful stuff. Now, Larry, I do want to make sure that we have time for at least one more effect. We want to push for two, but I don't want to keep you. I don't want to rush you too much. So I'm just going to leave it to you at this point to do more of your wonderful stuff. And if we could squeeze two in, that'll be fantastic.
Totally. And I just wanted to say I agree completely with what you're saying. You just have to start. People want to have something be absolutely perfect right from the start, and it never happens like that, because you have to go through the failures to tweak things and to iron out the rough edges. Because if you don't have those failures, you'll never be able to see where the rough edges are, and you can try and see them. But for me, for instance, the times when I'm in a live performance, that's the time where I see, oh wait, that wasn't optimum, or that was something that needed to be fixed a little, And the dynamic is always different when I'm performing live versus practicing on myself, because you don't get to see what somebody else sees, or you don't get to deal with the next person in the practice room. Being in front of a mirror is not just good enough, You have to try it out in the real world, and that's the way that you actually find out how you can make your product exactly what it needs to be.
I love that, Larry. We want to get to your effect in a moment, but I just think to add to what you're saying there, I write in the book about the experimental mindset rather than the being perfect mindset. And I think in a world where we are now with COVID and the other disruption we've been talking about, we don't know what's going to happen next. So what do you do when you don't know what's going to happen next? Well, you make small experiments and try and make the risk, if they don't go right, as little as possible. So small steps forward takes you a very, very long way. So thank you, for Larry. That's a great way of putting it.
Exactly, and I agree with you 100% on that, because if you can take enough of the little steps in the right direction in a short enough period of time, you can make big strides in comparison to your competitors. Yeah. So
with that, Larry, we are waiting with bated breath. Show us more.
I don't have anything else to show you guys. That's why I was talking endlessly. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just saying. So I'm going to do one last thing for you guys. I hope that we have enough time for this. So I have something really cool over here. There's a little card inside of a box, and you can see there's a little question mark. Can you guys see that?
Yep.
Great. So it's a little prediction, and the box is also sealed. And I know during this time it's posed us with some very difficult circumstances, and one of those circumstances is that we can't really travel. But I do believe that with our imaginations we can break all boundaries. So right now, Greg, you're going to think of a place that you would like to be in right now, or a place that you would like to be in when lockdown is complete. It could be a city, a country, it could be a little town, it could be a place that you've been to before, or a place that you'd love to go to.
Okay, I've got a place, yeah.
Great. And I'm also going to set my watch to a particular time here. Yes, that should be right. Just like that, exactly. And I'll leave that right over here in full view so you guys can see this, okay? So what is the place that you wanted to travel to, or that you would like to be in right now, Greg?
You want me to tell you?
Yes.
Yeah, it's San Francisco.
San Francisco, amazing. So Karushan, yourself, Greg, and myself, we're sitting in a great coffee shop in San Francisco, and you're looking across the way, and you see a big building with a clock. What is the hour on that clock?
Oh, my God. 3 o'clock.
Well, the first time that it might not be open, I was thinking 7 a.m. because I love the dawn or the morning in San Francisco.
Okay, perfect. So you can see it's, we would have thought of different times, right? So 3, and then, Greg, why don't you choose a minute?
Okay, got a minute.
You can say it.
Oh, 12 past, or 12 minutes, yeah.
12 minutes past 3. So you guys created that time. You chose the city. Before I got started, remember I set the time on my watch?
Yeah.
I set it to exactly 12 minutes past 3.
No! No!
So crazy, right?
Oh.
Before we even got started with today's show, I wrote something down on this piece of paper and put it inside this box. You could have chosen any place, Greg, but you chose San Francisco.
That's nuts!
No.
That is nuts!
Thank you very much.
That's so
Oh my God.
Oh my God. You spent my brain out of shape. That is brilliant.
That is totally crazy. That is totally crazy. That is mental. Andrew, I agree with you completely. Oh dear. I'm a bit taken aback here. So folks, I know that we are pretty much bang on at the end of the webinar, and I know that we're usually very good on time, but I would like to see Larry do just a little bit more. Are you guys going to be okay with just a few more minutes? Let me just double check with our panelists, because I don't want to be rude or disrespect your schedule. So it's just a few more minutes. Okay, fantastic. And then Larry, can we do just one quick question and then one effect? Is that going to be okay for you?
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
Totally.
Okay. All right. Perfect. So I wanted to talk about one of the beautiful things that occurred in us coming together on this webinar, and that is this beautiful thing called collaboration. And I love the fact that Greg, you walk the talk. You put together a wonderful logic and rationale behind the concept of collaboration, but you also live it. and you were very open to my reaching out to you, and you collaborated right back. And now look, you are on the show. It seems so random, and you're going to tell your friends how you had your mind read by someone in Africa while on this random show. I mean, it's just wonderful. It's wonderful what magic occurred just through the power of collaboration. And I just wanted you to give us just a thought to all of those people that are now going to run off and get this book, because it's so super highly recommended. Just give us a thought, a golden nugget on the subject of collaboration from your vantage point.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, obviously, it's a big subject, and I'm taking two particular slices through collaboration because I don't know if we've mentioned, but there's 4 C's in the book, and each of the C's has one dance step. So there's 8 dance steps. So each of the C's has 2. Collaboration has 2. One is experimentation. We were just talking about that, the ability to come together with human beings to make an experiment, just to see what works. And this whole show is like an experiment. We deliberately just won't put it out there just to see if this mixture works. And I guess we'll review it afterwards. That's the nature of experimentation. The other part, which is maybe what we could pick up on here, is the idea that if you've gone through these steps in my book of being conscious, understanding your why, the other part of consciousness is focusing, being curious, questioning the world, learning something every day, mixing those together, forming the creative habit from things that you can do. They're very practical things. You then have ideas. But the cool thing about super creative people, if you study them, if you look at the top creative people in the world, their philosophy is very simple. It's quantity will lead to quality. So they don't worry about having the best idea constantly. They just have a lot of ideas, and from that portfolio, they select ones that work, and then they just delete the rest. And they do that through a network of human collaborators. They have people that they trust, and they grow that network of trusting people, and they try things out on other people. And so you have to have these. This is part of the human creative process, to use and have help from other human beings to give you feedback, to tell you what doesn't work, to tell you what does work. And that makes it a really wonderful sharing thing as well. So that's my take on collaboration. Build your network as widely as possible. And now I've got 2 friends in Cape Town that I didn't have before. And we might cook up some other stuff in the future, who knows, right? So that's the serendipity you were talking about, Kerishan.
Absolutely. So that's a great summing up point there from Greg. So Larry, back to you, my friend. You've won everyone's hearts and minds right now. So let's have you give us our next slice of happiness right here.
Great. So I thought I would end off with something that's not so much mind-blowing, but something that's inspiring. And if you look at the etymology of inspiration or inspire, it comes where it derives from. It comes from Latin, and it means to be filled with spirit. So I hope just to fill you with the spirit today of the idea that anything is possible. All right. So I'm going to show you a simple magic trick that I learned when I was a kid. And I'm going to show you right now how you are capable of magic. And it's very true. I truly believe that you're capable of magic. So I have an elastic band over here around my fingers. And if you guys don't have an elastic band at home right now, that's okay. If you can grab one off your desk, that's fine. But if not, you can always come back to this video later. So I know that Kerishan, you have an elastic band, and so do you, right, Greg?
Well, I've got a hairband, as we were saying earlier, it's one of my old ones.
Okay, perfect. So I have an elastic band around these 2 fingers right over here, and I'm going to do something that seems impossible. I'm going to make it jump from here to here, just with a snap of the fingers. Watch. So we'll try it again, right? You can see it around these 2 fingers. A snap makes a jump. Like if I take this elastic band over here and I crisscross it around these 2, or around these 4 fingers, I create a little barrier, and now it seems impossible for this elastic band to get from here to over here. But with a snap of the fingers, it jumps. I know it seems impossible, but this is truly a simple trick that I learned when I was a kid. And now I want you guys to try, so go ahead.
Well, it's not very tight, but I've got it on there. I'll do it twice. Okay, Larry, I can't do it.
All right, well, why can't you do it? For the simple reason that you don't know how, right? So let me show you. So it goes around these two fingers. I do the secret move, but the secret move must be done in secret, where nobody sees. So I pull down, and I tuck all 4 fingers in, and when I open up my hand, it jumps. So I'll show you again. Pull down, and tuck all 4 fingers inside. Great, let it rest around the tips of your fingers, and then open up your hand, and it jumps. There you go. Great. Now you're probably thinking, what happens with the barrier? How can it go over if there's a barrier? Well, you do exactly the same thing. You pull down, you tuck all 4 fingers inside, and you open up, and it jumps. And the reason for that is because the elastic band moves around the fingers like that. That is the way it happens. So even when something seems impossible, often there's just a simple solution to making it possible. And the reason why I showed you this here today is because before I showed you how this was done, you weren't able to do it. You thought that it was magic. You thought it was some witchcraft, and you thought it was impossible, right? But when I showed you the doable steps of how to make it happen, you were able to take those steps and you were able to make the impossible possible. So I believe that the only times that we failed in our life is when we didn't apply the knowledge we already had, or we didn't have the knowledge that we needed to begin with. So it brings about 2 very simple solutions. Either apply what you know, or go out and get the knowledge you need and make your dreams come true, make them a reality.
That's beautiful, Larry. Absolutely beautiful. Yeah. I think that great words for wrapping up this absolutely, literally mind-blowing show. My mind has been blown. Guys, I got a request from someone, Steve, Steve in the audience, and Steve's requested a signed copy of the book from you, Greg, so we're going to have to just figure out logistics on getting some copies signed, and we can figure that out. So folks, I just want to do a little bit of, so I'm getting quite a lot of questions coming through about where do we get the book. I got my copy at Exclusive Books. So you can get it at Exclusive Books, you can get it at Amazon, so make sure you go and grab yourself a copy of the book and figure out a place to get it, and then just do yourself a great service and read this book. It's a really cool book. So Greg, if maybe we could do some back and forth behind the scenes and see if we can arrange a couple of signed copies, because we are getting requests for signed copies, and you and I can figure out a solution on that. And then, of course, with Larry, as he mentioned on the show, he does do this kind of work. He's created this concept of a remote-based show. You know, he uses fantastic technology. He really delivers a professional performance. As you guys saw, you just got a teaser, you got a taste test. But if you're curious about how to get in touch with Larry, if you'd like to follow up with something to do with Larry for an in-house exercise, it could be for the company employees, it could be for your clients. But I mean, just because we're in lockdown, it doesn't mean that we have to stop doing these wonderful things that keep our people entertained and keep them in the area of the creative and the imaginative. So I encourage you to consider these kind of performances that are delivered on a remote basis. If you'd like details on that, if you'd like to get in touch with Larry, if you don't have his details, just reach out to us. So as hosts of the show, you have Kirushan.com. You can complete your surveys. And on that note, I want to just request that everyone takes a second to complete their webinar feedback. And on the webinar feedback, you can just put down any request that you have. You could say that you want a copy of a book, you want a signed copy, you could say that you want to have details of Larry for a show. Just go ahead and reach out to us, and we'll be sure to answer every query that we get, and we'll read every bit of feedback. So today's show was very exciting for me. I loved every second of it. I hope you did as well. To me, it was literally, I'm still shocked. I'm yet to get over what happened on the show. I want to, from the bottom of my heart, say thank you to both Larry and Greg for showing up and delivering a sterling event. What a great opportunity to have fun together as a bunch of mates and just banter a little bit and wind up with some entertainment and wins as a result. I believe that this is the start of something. I don't believe that this is the end of it. So I look forward to further collaboration in the future, Greg. And Larry, of course, you'll be having dinner at the house tonight, so I know that I'll be seeing you in a couple of hours. And on that note, gentlemen and ladies, thank you all so much for showing up, and make sure you complete complete the survey, you'll find the link in the chat box. So Taryn would have put out a link in the chat box, and it takes you to the survey page. So any of your queries for follow-up actions with Larry or with Greg, just reach out to us and we'll coordinate the back end. Thank you all so much, and we'll see you in only 2 weeks' time for our next show. Cheers.